Hello, football fanatics. I am Tim McCall reporting with CTV from the Beehive State. Here in Logan, it's game day, and the Colorado State Rams are getting ready to take on the Utah State Aggies. Now, both teams enter this contest at 3-2 and are looking to gain momentum heading into the rest of the Mountain West season. Utah State had a huge in-state rivalry win against BYU last week, and Colorado State traveled to Hawaii where they took care of business. They were able to put up over 50 points on a Hawaii defense. It's the second time the CSU offense has been able to score 50 points this season. They are the main reason that CSU has been successful so far this year. On that offense, it starts with quarterback Nick Stevens. He's thrown 12 touchdowns and only had 6 interceptions on the year. He's taking care of the football and not turning it over, which is making life a lot easier for his defense. He's making sure that they don't have to defend a short field, and it gives them a better opportunity for success. Now, on the outside, a big reason that Nick Stevens has had success is because of the All-American potential of wide receiver Michael Gallup. He has been fantastic this year, just like he was last year, and is currently on pace to have more receptions and more receiving yards than he did last year. After a 200-yard performance versus Hawaii last week, look for Michael Gallup to try to replicate that performance today. Now, it is going to be difficult for him to do it. On Utah State, the reigning defensive player of the week in all of college football plays the cornerback position and will be lining up against Michael Gallup. Jalen Davis had 3 interceptions, 2 of which he returned for touchdown last week against BYU. He's going to be looking to shut down Michael Gallup today, and if he can do that, look for other CSU wide receivers, maybe Olabisi Johnson, to get involved. Now, at one point long ago, the Colorado State Rams called themselves the Aggies, but today they're going to be looking to defeat the Aggies of Utah State. Kickoff is less than 2 hours away. We have beautiful weather in Logan, and I cannot wait for this game to kick off. I'm Tim McCall reporting for CTV. Hello, football fans. I am Tim McCall reporting with CTV. We are at halftime here in Logan of the Colorado State Rams and Utah State Aggies game. Right now, the Colorado State Rams are leading 24-7, and it is all because of quarterback Nick Stevens. He has been absolutely fantastic today. Through the first half, he's already thrown for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, from the first play of this game on, he was trying to get the ball to Michael Gallup. Michael Gallup, as many of you know, is lined up against the best player on the Utah State team, Jalen Davis, the NCAA Defensive Player of the Week from last week. Michael Gallup has been winning the matchup today. He already has 5 catches for over 50 yards, and because he is being covered by Davis is unable to cover the other wide receivers. A lot of the other wide receivers are being able to get open, get involved in the offense. Nick Stevens is getting them the ball. He looks great today. Now, on the defensive side, the Rams have been stellar. They have been pressuring the Utah State quarterback every time he's dropped back to pass. The Utah State has gone 3 and out after 3 and out all day. They were able to get 7 points. It wasn't their offense, though. They actually blocked a punt and returned it for a touchdown with about 6 minutes left in the half. That's the second blocked punt that has been returned for a touchdown against the Rams this season. That's one area they need to work on. It's going to be a good second half. Look for the Rams to continue to roll. I'm Tim McCall with CTV News. Hello, football fans. This is Tim's Call. I am your host, Tim McCall, with CTV News. We just finished watching the Colorado State Rams defeat the Utah State Aggies by a score of 27-14. However, if you watch the game, you know that the score is a little closer than the game was. The Rams absolutely dominated this entire game. At halftime, they were up 24-7. The only 2 scores throughout the entire game that this Colorado State team allowed was a blocked punt that was returned for a touchdown in the first half, and then Utah State Aggies scored with 97 seconds left, pretty much in garbage time. It was a pretty successful outing from the Colorado State defense. They were able to hold the Utah State Aggies to just 212 yards throughout the day. The Rams' offense, as usual, was on fire. They had over 500 total yards of offense. They just weren't able to punch the ball into the end zone as much as we are accustomed to seeing them do. Quarterback Nick Stevens finished with just a hair under 300 yards passing. You know, in the second half, he really didn't need to pass the ball at all. The Rams relied on the running attack, using mostly Dallin Dawkins in the second half to kind of run the clock out and just control the game. He had 121 rushing yards. Most of that came in the second half. You know, it's a different week, but the same story. Michael Gallup continues to dominate. He had 8 receptions today, just under 100 yards. He was on fire, the real catalyst for the offense for the Rams. He really got things going. You know, when the Utah State defense had to worry about Michael Gallup and what he was going to do, it allowed other players to get involved. Nick Stevens was able to find those other players, get them involved, and that's what led the Rams to having 512 yards of total offense today. So the Rams are going to take a break for right now. They're going to celebrate this victory, head home, and they're going to prepare for homecoming next weekend against Nevada. It's an 8:30 kickoff in Fort Collins, and I can't wait to see you there. I'm Tim McCall with CTV News.
And up to the 100. Is complete for a touchdown to number. Ball carrier number 21. Is it Matthew? Ted Myers on the keeper. On the sack. Izzy Matthews on the carry. Pass is complete to number 8. Pass complete to Al.
Good evening and thanks for tuning in to the FOCO Sports Show. I'm Grace Reeder, joined alongside our weekly panelists. We've got Eddie, Brian, Nick, and Tyler with us here tonight. We unfortunately have some people who are either sick or have a ton of homework. We know that these guys can really get talking, so we're going to go ahead and get started. This weekend, a video surfaced of Miami Dolphins O-line coach Chris Forrester snorting what appears to have been a line of cocaine. Monday morning, Forrester officially announced his resignation after accepting responsibility for his actions. Forrester also happens to be a CSU alum, former player, and a previous assistant coach here at CSU. Let's talk the NFL's handling of this. What do you guys think about the NFL giving him the decision to resign versus just firing him?
Yeah, first of all, I think that's ridiculous. We were talking about this earlier, and I think ultimately the decision is that he has to leave the Miami Dolphins coaching staff. But I think them allowing him to resign rather than firing him doesn't bring across the point the NFL needs to bring across. I mean, obviously they're exemplifying a lot for the youth. Them allowing him to resign kind of downgrades the seriousness of abusing cocaine, abusing an illegal drug in public or just in general. So I really think he did need to be fired.
Yeah. Like you said, Eddie, the important part is that he doesn't have a job anymore. I think what they have to reflect, though, is how they handle both the players and the coaches, different people for teams in the same light. Players who test positive for banned substances get a suspension or get handling in a different way, and they can appeal something like that. I think the NFL allowed him to resign because it kind of clears him from that handling of the situation. He can't go back to an appellate court and say, hey, all these players who I work with test positive for cocaine or marijuana, which is a banned substance all the time, and they just get a suspension. I think the NFL kind of saved themselves from that, playing it safe. I do agree that he should have been fired, and that's the more appropriate course of action. They're just looking out for their own skin.
I completely agree with you. The important point to me is he doesn't have a job, be it fired or resigned. Obviously, fired is what you'd want, but I'd rather him resign now than have weeks of deliberation and bringing it to light and keeping it going, like you said, Brian. So I think just he doesn't have a job. That's all that matters to me.
So.
Do you guys think that he's going to have any future in football just because of this incident, or is his career kind of...
I don't think he should have a future in football, but I think based off of his track record, he will. I mean, he's been a coach for 4 college teams, 8 NFL teams. His coaching career dates back to the 1980s, and kind of like you said, with players also having an opportunity after they do drugs, take Josh Gordon. I mean, he's been caught doing drugs a ton of times, and then he's had another opportunity. He has been re-signed and, given another chance after that. I think he probably will. I don't think he should be given another chance. He wasn't doing a great job in Miami, but the bottom line is if the NFL doesn't take him out of the league or force him out of the league, eventually someone's going to need offensive line help, but plenty of teams do right now.
I disagree, really.
Sorry, we keep talking about the players, but don't you think that coaches should be held to a higher standard than the players should?
I mean, obviously, but it happened, so he's not on the team anymore, and I don't think he's going to get another job. So it's a press nightmare to sign a guy who was just resigned because of cocaine abuse. Let alone he wasn't great. The Dolphins' offensive line isn't anything to get excited about. If it was maybe the Broncos' defensive line coach, that's a different story. He's a great coach, and probably does need to be somewhere, regardless of unless it's something terrible he did. There's no reason to take a gamble on someone who's mediocre at best.
I disagree with you, though. I think watching that video that was terrible. I don't think you really, the language that he used in that video, the way that he portrayed his team, and the way that, and it's drugs. So I just feel like that was not a not serious situation.
He also mentioned sexual experiences with a woman, which is extremely unprofessional. And like you said, coaches should be held to a higher standard. I'm going to disagree, but I'm going to kind of agree because I think players and coaches both should not, drug use should not be tolerated. I think both of them should not be given a second chance. Going back to what I said earlier about how they set, the NFL sets examples for a youth. If you're going to give people a second chance, whether it's a player or a coach, people are going to see this, our youth is going to see this, and like I said earlier, it downgrades the seriousness of abusing drugs. I mean, the NFL has a chance to set positive examples for children, and that really doesn't help them out.
I agree with you on that.
I think a positive example, too, would also be giving him a chance, but not a quick chance. He's going to have to go to rehab. He's going to have to be out of football for at least a year or two.
And publicize that.
Yeah, publicize that. He's going to have to start very low, probably at a D2 university, as, again, another assistant coach. Nothing too fancy. He's not going to have a big-time job. He's not going to get paid a lot of money. He's going to have to work himself up. A guy who reminds me a lot of this situation doesn't involve drugs, but Jim Bob Cooter, he has a pretty questionable police history, questionable at best.
Police,
and he right now is the offensive coordinator for the Lions and is considered one of the best offensive coordinators in football right now. On one hand, what Jim Bob Cooter did is, not anything positive. It's something that nobody aspires to do or be. But at the same time, he went through that process. He built his career back up, and he's proved again that he's worthy of being in football and that he is a better person. And so I think that there's a really solid blueprint there for Mr. Forrester to follow and for the NFL and for football in general to push him on.
Well, and you can use this as a way to positively publicize what he's doing through his recovery process. And I think they made that very clear at the beginning that they were going to support his recovery process. But also, on the other hand, then you're also publicizing the event itself.
It really is a bad look for the NFL all around, so let's just hope that they can spin this and make it a positive thing moving forward so that incidents like this don't come up again and examples like that. So let's move into...
Welcome back from the break. I'm sports anchor Alex Clow, catching you up on the latest Colorado State sports athletics. The CSU football team is currently undefeated in Mountain West play as they are currently 2-0. The team was on the road again last weekend at Utah State. CSU won 27-14. Senior quarterback Nick Stevens had yet another standout performance. He threw for 293 yards and completed 22 of 31 passes with 2 touchdowns. Senior Michael Gallup had 88 receiving yards and Izzy Matthews rushed for 121 yards. Colorado State was off to a pretty fast start, scoring on the first 4 possessions. By the end of the first half, CSU had 295 offensive yards, while Utah only had 46 yards. On the defensive side, CSU had 13 tackles, with 7 of those being sacks. Looking ahead, the team is coming home this Saturday for the first on-campus homecoming game since 1967. Kickoff is at 8 p.m., and the game will be shown on ESPN2. The Colorado State volleyball team is currently 6-0 in conference play, and the team has had a pretty busy traveling weekend at Boise State and Utah State. On Friday, CSU beat Boise State 3-2. 4 CSU players ended in the double digits with kills. Brianna Reynolds led with 17, Jasmine Hanna followed with 15, Kirsty Hillier added 12, and Paulina Hogard-Jensen added 10. The first set was a bit of a struggle for CSU, and the second set was all Boise State. And the following 3 sets were similar as they were all tough battles with multiple lead changes. The team turned right around to play Utah on Saturday. CSU beat Utah 3-0. This sweep marked their 11th of the season. The team put up 16 blocks, which is the most this season. Jasmine Hanna had a whopping 13 kills in the match and absolutely no errors. She is just shy 6 kills of breaking the CSU record of 1,066 career kills. This record is held by Megan Pluter, who played here back in 2008. The team will head back to Moby Arena after a long road of away games this Thursday to face San Jose State and then return on Saturday to play Nevada. The CSU soccer team was on the road last weekend to face both UNLV and Nevada. On Friday, CSU fell 3-1 against UNLV. A key player from the match was CSU sophomore goalkeeper Hunter Pfeiffer. She made 4 saves. This included 2 saves from penalty kick attempts. Another key player on CSU's side was Alex Lanning. She got the only goal for CSU. On Saturday, the team beat Nevada 1-0. The goal was made by Mackenzie Taylor in the 2nd minute of the match. This was her 2nd goal of the season, and it came from a free kick opportunity. Looking ahead, the teams head back home to face Boise State on Friday and Utah State on Sunday. The Senior Associate Athletic Director Doug Max and his wife Cindy experienced a horrible weekend. On Sunday morning, a fire claimed their home and the life of their daughter Rachel. The family has expressed a need for help after this disaster. A GoFundMe account was set up in their names. Those who wish to help can do so by donating to the fund. The money raised will be used for funeral costs and items that were lost in the fire. For more sport updates throughout the weekend, be sure to follow the CTV 11 YouTube page and don't go away because Kara Coles is up next with entertainment.
Hello, sports fans. You're watching Tim's Call, and I am your host, Tim McCall. Earlier today, I was able to sit down with Woody Paige from ESPN's Around the Horn. I was able to get Woody's insight on the new on-campus stadium and how it will affect the football program here at CSU.
I came to Colorado in '74, and one of my first columns was about Colorado State. They had a really exciting passing team back in the old Western Athletic Conference. And I just love watching WAC games. And the Mountain West has kind of calmed it down. But back those days, Wyoming threw the ball all the time, Colorado State. BYU was in the old WAC, UTEP. And I always had an affection for the football team. I didn't like the stadium much, so I'm happy about the new stadium. But I got to be friends with a former coach up there who is now, whose name is now on the field. And when he was inducted into the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame, he asked me to introduce him. And that was, you were talking about an honor, that was an honor that I got that opportunity.
There you go. For those who don't know, he's talking about the famous Colorado State football head coach, Sonny Lubick.
Well, if you don't know who he is, then you should be going to Colorado State. And you've never gone to a game because his name is across the field.
Speaking of that new field, Woody, for a non-Power 5 school like Colorado State, what do you think a big on-campus stadium like that's has all the new technology, is state of the art? What does that mean to a football program?
Yeah, I felt from 40 years ago when I first started watching the team, that it was never going to be strategically important to keep playing out there. Because the students, that was a chore. It was, if you were coming in from Denver to make that move up I-25, go all the way out to near the dam out there. And I thought it was a tough recruiting place, that people want their football team to be right on campus, like Moby Gym, and the basketball team. It's so easy to go to Moby Gym to watch the basketball team. You can go 2 blocks and you can see it. And I think it's been an incredible move, and I'm not so certain that Colorado State is in a position to go to a Power 5 conference, but this could lead to that eventually, because we don't know what the landscape's going to be in college football. But I think what it's going to do is it's going to help the recruiting, it's going to help the attendance, it's going to help the alumni affairs. On every level, it was a major risk by the president of the university, but it's paying off already, I think.
Just in the few games we've been there already, we've already seen more sellouts at this stadium than I ever saw in the old Hughes Stadium.
Yeah.
And I really think that Colorado State's football program is moving in the right direction because of this. I was also able to talk to Woody about the recent tragedies in Las Vegas and how tragedies like that affect the career of a sports reporter.
In the case of Las Vegas, I tweeted out this morning, don't stick to sports. You can't stick to sports in life. People say, stick to sports. No, we're all humans. I covered 9/11. My newspaper sent me there as a sports writer, and I was there for a week, and I covered it, and I was traumatized going down to ground zero. I covered the Aurora shootings at the theater. I was there that night. I covered Columbine. In those 2 cases, the newspapers, and I was a part of it, won Pulitzer Prizes. So it was totally away from sports because I'm a human first. Las Vegas, I have friends. There's a head of a casino that just down the street from where the tragedy happened. It's a close friend of mine. We've been communicating this morning. We know in Colorado, having seen and witnessed what happened with Columbine, this is the worst human terrorist act. And people go, well, that's not terrorist. They're domestic terrorists. We've seen that, the Oklahoma City bombings that occurred. The trial was here. I covered that. There's domestic terror just like there's international terror. And we got to be aware because, and it's going to be so moving for Las Vegas. That's where people go to have fun. Sports is where people go to have fun. Las Vegas is, but every time anybody goes to Las Vegas now, I've stayed at the Mandalay Bay. I was there a couple of years ago. You're going to always think about that. I tweeted out today, I weep for Las Vegas. And I wept this morning. Jesus wept. It's the shortest verse in the Bible. I wept this morning. The guy wrote me back and said, you didn't weep, you. And he called me a bunch of names. And I thought, he doesn't understand that sports is my job. Life is my passion and things that happen in life. And I'm totally serious about that. There's a great movie that should have won an Academy Award called Hidden Figures. It's about 3 African-American women who really helped the space program become what it was. I watched that and I wept, and I don't know that people understand that there are things that are happening in this country now. Young people are seeing events and accusations and division in this country that I haven't seen in 71 years. And I grew up at the end of World War II, through the 50s, through the Vietnam War protest, and I marched then. We've never seen anything like the division that's going on in this country. And then when you add in the natural disasters that have happened in 2 places in the United States and Puerto Rico, which guess what? Those are American citizens. Mm-hmm. When we're seeing what's going on in Europe, and particularly London, where my daughter went to school for a while, and I've gone to Wimbledon and the British Open 25 times, and I've spent a lot of great times in London of what London's going through. Now what Las Vegas, I mean, there's been nothing like this where there are more than 50 people killed and hundreds injured. Orlando, what happened in Orlando? Sandy Hook, the kids there. I don't know the solution. So all the stuff I was talking about, what young people should do, young people have got to correct the wrongs that my generation has done and what's happened. And it's a little late for me, although I write about other subjects, it's a little late for me to suddenly become a writer and what kind of effect because I was a general columnist for years. And I think it takes everybody saying, we have got to do our own part. When there's a hurricane, when there's a terrorist act, when there's the division between the National Football League and the president, we all have to do what we can to make it better. And even though I'm kidding, you've watched me through 2 TV programs today, different levels, and I'm funny and I'm odd and I'm awful and whatever I might be, but I'm always serious when I step away from the camera. And wish you luck. Thank you for this, and I hope we at least address some of the subjects you want to talk about.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me, Woody. It's been a pleasure and an honor. I'm Tim McCall reporting with CTV News. That's all we have today. Thank you.
Tim McCall. Yeah. Ooh.
Welcome back from the break. I'm Tyler Patterson here bringing you all the latest in Colorado State athletics. CSU football traveled to Logan, Utah on Saturday and easily handled the Aggies in a 27-14 victory. The offense got off to another explosive start, putting up 17 first-quarter points, giving the Rams a 24-7 cushion heading into halftime. Both teams were scoreless in the third quarter, and CSU tacked on a late fourth-quarter field goal, picking up their second conference victory of the season, 27-14. Senior quarterback Nick Stevens had another stellar game for the Rams, completing 22 of 31 passes for 293 yards and 2 touchdowns. Stevens had plenty of help from his friends in this game as running back tandem Dalen Dawkins and Izzy Matthews combined for 205 yards on 41 rushes with 1 touchdown. CSU is now 4-2 on the season and 2-0 in the Mountain West Conference. The Rams will host Nevada this Saturday for homecoming and family weekend. Kickoff against Nevada is set for 8:15 p.m., and for those of you who are unable to attend, the game will also air on ESPN2. Women's volleyball defeated conference foe Boise State last Thursday night in perhaps the most important and thrilling game of the season so far for the Rams. After losing the first 2 sets of the match, the Rams stormed back from an 0-2 deficit, reverse sweeping the Broncos in 5 sets. Both teams were undefeated in conference play coming into this matchup, and the Rams are now the lone undefeated in the Mountain West Conference with just 12 games remaining. 4 Rams finished with double-digit kills against Boise State, led by freshman Brianna Reynolds, who had 17 kills. Jasmine Hanna added 15 kills, and Kirsty Hillier and Paulina Hogard-Jensen floored 12 and 10, respectively. Team setter Kaylee Olasek was just 2 assists short of tying her season high as she paced the Rams' offense with 57 assists while also adding 12 digs, marking her 3rd double-double this season. Sophomore Amanda Young helped anchor the defense with 20 digs of her own. McKenna Thornlow also posted 11 digs, and Sanja Cheesmich matched her career high in digs with 10. After the game, Coach Tom Hilbert said, "It was a highly competitive and spirited match from the beginning to end. It was a good thing for this team to go through and a signature moment for them. I have a lot of respect for my players' abilities, and they weathered a lot of storms during this match." Colorado State also traveled to Utah State last Saturday and swept the Aggies in 3 sets. The Rams remained the 23rd ranked team in the country, and they improved their overall record to 16-2 and remain perfect in conference play at 6-0. CSU is taking on San Jose State tonight at Moby Arena, and the Rams hope to extend their current win streak to 7 games. The Rams are currently leading in the first set 10-5, and Utah State will be in town this weekend, so make sure you head over to Moby Arena on Saturday to show your support for the Rams for the 12 p.m. tip-off. Women's soccer took the field against UNLV last Friday and ended up on the losing end again late in the game. After being all tied up at 1-1, the Rebels broke the ice in the 76th minute and added another goal 6 minutes later in the 82nd, sending the Rams home with a 3-1 loss. Although CSU rebounded from that loss Friday night against UNLV in Sunday's matchup at Nevada, squeezing out a close victory. Taylor McKenzie scored her 2nd goal of the year for the Rams in just the 2nd minute of the match, giving CSU a 1-0 lead. That lone goal by McKenzie was all the Rams would need, as the Wolfpack were unable to get anything going offensively throughout the 90 minutes. CSU produced their first shutout of the season and improved their overall record to 3-7-4. The Rams will play the Boise State Broncos tomorrow afternoon here on campus. Game time is set for 4 p.m. That's all the sports I have for tonight. For all the latest, head to thecollegian.com or CTV's Channel 11 YouTube. Don't go anywhere because up next is Ryan Chris with entertainment.